This lesson's 5.4 on multiplying fractions. And one thing I really like about multiplying fractions is it's a whole lot easier than trying to add or subtract unlike fractions. Because in this case, you don't need them to be like fractions in order to multiply them. The rules are pretty simple. You multiply the numerators together of two fractions and the denominators of the two fractions together, resulting in one final fraction. This can then be simplified. Sometimes it's already in simplest form. So here, 3/5 times 4/7 is the same thing as 3 times 4 divided by 5 times 7. Let's do an example. So one thing to remember is if it has negative signs, we always assign the negative signs to the numerator, so the top number. So in this case, negative 8 divided by 15 times negative 3/8 becomes negative 8 over 15 times negative 3 over 8. So we can set this up. We usually put a parentheses here so you don't confuse it and think it's a subtraction problem, that we remember that it's multiplication. Now, the next step, so this is using our assigning. We've used our rules for multiplying, but what we're going to do is we're going to divide out common factors. So in this case, negative 8 and 8 are both divisible by 8. So this becomes a negative 1, and this becomes 1. Also, 15 and negative 3 are both divisible by 3. So we can simplify that and then multiply what's left. So negative 1 times negative 1 becomes positive 1 over 5 times 1, which is 5. So now we've completed all of the steps. Go ahead and try these two examples below using these steps and see if you can get the right answer. If you do all this dividing out the common factors, you will always get it in simplest form. So what do you do when you have a mixed number involved? Well, just like previous problems, whenever we have mixed numbers, we always first make it into an improper fraction. So in this problem, every day for a week, you run 3 3/5 miles. What is the total distance you run in 1 week? Well, 1 week equals 7 days. And we know how far you run each day. So 3 3/5 times 7, then we can multiply those together in order to get our answer of the total distance you ran. So first part, 3 times 5 is 15, plus 3 is 18 fifths, times 7 is the same thing as 7 over 1. In this case, there's nothing we can do to simplify it. There's no common factors. So in this case, 18 times 7 is 126 over 5. And then we can simplify this fraction. So we can write it as a mixed number. So 25 and 1/5 miles is how far you're going to run at the end of the week if you ran 3 3/5 miles each day. So that's an example. Same thing as before, you just have to do one extra step of making an improper fraction. So what happens when we have both that are mixed numbers? So in this case, if we had 12 3/5, we times 3 1/3, we rewrite it as improper fractions. Then we can use the rules for multiplying fractions. But in this case, we do have factors that we can simplify. So 5 goes both into 5 and 10. So we're left with a 2 and a 1. And 63 and 3, we also can divide 63 by 3 and be left with 21. So our answer would be 42 over 1, which is equal to 42. The key thing here is to always make sure you make these into improper fractions before beginning. So go ahead and try this one on your own and bring it with you to class tomorrow. Sorry, I probably went too fast, so take a second. Then we have example 4. So what happens when we have these variables in there? How can we simplify this? Well, we follow very similar rules. So we use the rules for multiplying fractions. So what's on the top, the numerators get multiplied and the denominators get multiplied. We can then still divide out common factors. So 42 is divisible by 7. So we're left with 6. Here we're left with 2. And 25 and 15 are both divisible by 5. So we're left with 3. And here we're left with 5. So 5 times 2 is 10. X to the 5th, x to the 3rd. In this case, because we're multiplying, we add their exponents. And then 6 times 3 is 18. Look, how come this isn't simplified all the way? One thing that I missed was 6 is divisible by 2. So actually, we can say 5x to the 8th divided by 9. So it's always good to check, but this helps you get really close if you catch all of them. So what I want you to do now is try this example below. But remember, you have to use your exponent rules, you need to use the multiplying fractions rules, and these dividing out the common factors. So all things we've learned in the past, but now we're using them together. So that's all for this lesson.